The Monday after my wedding, I did something I'd never done before in my life. I called in sick to work when I wasn't actually sick. I spent the day making phone calls. The first call was to Delilah from Delilah's Flowers. I'd been thinking about that initial double booking incident all weekend, and something about it had been nagging at me. "Oh, Sarah." Delilah's voice was warm and apologetic when I identified myself. "How did the wedding go, dear? I felt just terrible about the mix-up with your flowers." "It was beautiful, thank you," I lied smoothly. "Actually, I was calling about that mix-up. I know it's over and done with, but for insurance purposes, I need to understand exactly what happened. You said another bride had booked the same date." There was a pause. "Well, that's what I was told." "Told? By whom?" "Your sister, Jessica. She called and explained that there had been a computer error, that another bride's deposit had gone through for the same date. She was very upset about it, very apologetic. She said she'd looked into the legal implications and that I'd have to honor the first contract." My blood went cold. "Jessica told you there was another bride?" "Yes, she had all the details. The other bride's name, her deposit amount, even her wedding theme. She said she'd spoken to her and that the other bride was willing to fight for the date legally if necessary." "Delilah," I said carefully, "did you ever speak to this other bride directly? Or see any documentation about her deposit?" Another pause, longer this time. "No, Jessica handled all of that. She said she didn't want to involve you in the stress of it, that she'd take care of everything." "Course she did. Can you tell me the other bride's name?" I don't think I should, dear. Client confidentiality." "Delilah, I think there might not have been another bride at all." Silence. "What do you mean?" she finally asked, her voice very small. "I mean, I think my sister lied to you. I think she made up the whole story to get me to switch florists." But why would she do that? That was the million-dollar question, wasn't it? "I'm not sure yet. But Delilah, would you be willing to look up that other bride's name and contact information? Just to verify that she exists." 20 minutes later, Delilah called me back, and her voice was shaking. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. I've been through all my records, all my computer files. There's no record of any other deposit for your wedding date. No other contracts, no other brides. I don't understand how this happened, but I think you might be right." My hands were trembling as I hung up the phone. Jessica had lied. She'd created an entire fictional scenario to manipulate Delilah into canceling my flower order. But I needed more proof. My next call was to Marcus Chen, the photographer who'd supposedly been in an accident. I'd Googled him and found his personal studio number. "Chen Photography, this is Marcus." He sounded perfectly healthy. "Hi, Marcus. This is Sarah Henderson. I think there might be some confusion about my wedding booking." "Sarah Henderson." He sounded puzzled. "I don't have any Henderson weddings on my books. When was your event supposed to be?" "October 15th. My sister Jessica was handling the communication with you." "I'm sorry, but I've never spoken to anyone named Jessica about a wedding booking. And I certainly haven't been in any accident recently. Are you sure you have the right photographer?" I closed my eyes. I'm beginning to think I don't have the right anything. After I explained the situation, Marcus was quiet for a "Ms. Henderson, I think someone has been impersonating me to your sister, or your sister has been impersonating me to you. Either way, this is fraud. You should consider involving the police." Police. The word sent a chill through me. This wasn't just sibling rivalry anymore. This was criminal. But I wasn't ready to involve the authorities yet. I needed to know how deep this went. My investigation continued throughout the week. I called the original caterer, who confirmed that Jessica had called claiming I'd changed my mind about the menu and wanted to cancel. The band told me a similar story. Jessica had contacted them saying I'd decided to go with a different musical style. Even Rosewood Gardens, my original venue, had a story to tell. When I called them, they had no idea what I was talking about regarding food poisoning or health department investigations. "We've never had a food poisoning incident," the event coordinator told me. We've never been investigated by the health department. Who told you we were being shut down? By Friday, I had documented proof that Jessica had systematically lied to and manipulated every single vendor I'd originally booked. She'd created elaborate fictional scenarios. Other brides, accidents, health emergencies, legal issues. All designed to force me into canceling my original plans. But the most damning discovery came when I decided to investigate the replacement vendors she'd recommended. I started with Vivian Cross, the expensive florist who'd replaced Delilah. When I called Vivian's studio, I was surprised when a familiar voice answered the phone. Cross Floral Design, this is Vivian. I knew that voice. It took me a moment to place it, but then I remembered. Vivian was Jessica's college roommate. I'd met her at a few parties over the years. Vivian. This is Sarah Henderson, Jessica's sister. Sarah. Oh my gosh, how are you? Jessica told me your wedding was beautiful. Thank you. I was actually calling to ask you about something. When Jessica hired you for my wedding, she said you'd had a last-minute cancellation that opened up my date. Cancellation? Vivian laughed. Oh no, there wasn't any cancellation. Jessica called me months ago asking if I'd be willing to do your wedding flowers. She said you were looking for something more upscale than what you'd originally planned. She paid my deposit back in July. 2 months before the supposed emergency with Delilah's flowers. She paid your deposit in July. I repeated. Yes, she said she wanted to surprise you with an upgrade. Isn't that sweet? She's such a good sister. I hung up feeling sick to my stomach. Jessica had been planning this sabotage for months. While I was excitedly planning my dream wedding, she was systematically arranging to destroy it. But why? Why go to such elaborate lengths? Why spend thousands of dollars of her own money to make my wedding more expensive and less personal? The answer came to me that evening as I was scrolling through Jessica's social media. She'd been posting photos from my wedding all week, but not the usual happy family photos. These were carefully curated shots that told a very specific story. There was Jessica in her bridesmaid dress, looking elegant and sophisticated next to my more casual rustic flowers. Jessica giving her maid of honor speech, looking poised and articulate while I sat looking overwhelmed in the background. Jessica dancing with various relatives, each caption mentioning how she'd helped plan Sarah's beautiful rustic wedding. But the most telling posts were the ones about her own upcoming wedding. Side-by-side comparisons of her elegant November wedding vision, my charming October celebration. Comments from friends and family about how different the two events would be. How Jessica's would be more formal, more sophisticated, more expensive looking. She hadn't just sabotaged my wedding to hurt me. She'd sabotaged it to make her own wedding look better by comparison. She deliberately made my event look cheaper, more casual, more chaotic so that hers would shine brighter in contrast. Every disaster, every last-minute change, every crisis she'd solved. It had all been calculated to make me look like I couldn't plan a proper wedding, while positioning herself as the competent sister who'd stepped in to save the day. And in November, she'd have her perfect, elegant, sophisticated wedding, and everyone would remember how much better it was than poor Sarah's disaster of an event. David found me that night sitting at our kitchen table with printouts of all my phone notes, vendor contracts, and Jessica's social media posts spread out in front of me. How bad is it? He asked, sitting down beside me. Worse than we thought. I handed him the summary I'd written. She didn't just sabotage our wedding on a whim, David. She planned this for months. She spent thousands of dollars and created elaborate lies involving dozens of people. All so she could make sure her wedding looked better than mine. David read through my notes, his expression growing darker with each page. This is sociopathic behavior, Sarah. This isn't normal sibling rivalry. I know. We need to tell your parents. We need to confront her. I shook my head. Not yet. What do you mean, not yet? She committed fraud, Sarah. She lied to vendors, impersonated people, cost us thousands of dollars. She turned our wedding day into a disaster for her own ego. I know, I said again. And she's going to pay for it. What are you planning? I looked at him, and I saw him recognize the same cold determination he'd seen on our wedding night. Jessica spent months planning to humiliate me at my own wedding. She wanted everyone to see what a disaster I was, how much better she was at everything. And in 3 weeks, she's having her perfect wedding. Everyone will be there. All the same relatives, all the same family friends. The same people who saw my charming rustic disaster will be there to witness her elegant triumph. David was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "What do you know about her relationship with Richard?" Smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. That's exactly what I'm going to find out. Because Jessica had made one crucial error in her master plan. She'd been so focused on destroying my wedding that she'd forgotten to protect her own secrets. And everyone has secrets,